Welcome to the LabTech training how-to video about how to install the LabTech Control Center on a workstation. Many LabTech users or technicians will choose to install the Control Center locally on their own workstation so they can access LabTech locally rather than having to remote to or physically go to the LabTech server directly. In this lesson, we will cover how to install the Control Center locally and log in. First step necessary to install the Control Center locally will be to map an L drive on your workstation to the LT share on the LabTech server. Here I am in Windows Explorer. I will click Map Network Drive. LabTech is looking for the letter L, so you will definitely want to choose L for the drive letter. I have specified a fully qualified domain name for my server. In your case, you may choose to use IP address or the fully qualified domain name of your LabTech server. And then the share name of the LT share is always LT share by default. For the purposes of this example, having the L drive reconnect automatically at logon will ensure L drive presence, which is something that the Control Center relies upon for certain functions within LabTech. I will click on Finish to map this drive. As you can see, I am being asked for credentials. Now here I am on the L drive, mapped locally to the LT share on the LabTech server, and I will double click on the WKS install directory, and I'm simply going to run control center installer.exe. As I'm running a machine with Windows 7, it's asking me for UAC access, and I will click yes. And now LabTech Control Center is being installed on my workstation. After the Control Center is finished installing, it's going to install the MySQL ODBC connector, and I will click Next to proceed with that. The Control Center has already been installed previously on my workstation, so the default selection is set to Modify. If you have never installed the LabTech Control Center on your workstation, the default selection at the top of this list will be set to Typical. In either case, whether the default selection is set to Modify or Typical, it is recommended to leave that setting selected and click on Next. I will click Next here to accept the default install and left click to install. The MySQL ODBC connector has been successfully installed on my workstation now. Here we have the end user licensing agreement for the Crystal Reports component of the LabTech Control Center installation. Review the agreement and click Accept if you do accept the terms. And now files are being downloaded for the Control Center setup. Files have been downloaded successfully. Now Crystal Reports is being installed. Now the Control Center is being installed. After the installation is complete, the LabTech Client Setup Wizard is launched. Click Next to proceed. Where do we want to install the Control Center? It's fine to accept the default installation path, or you can specify one of your choosing and click Next. Now we're ready to install. Here the Control Center has been successfully installed. Let's click Close. After the installation is complete, the Control Center login screen comes up. It is important to remember at this point that when logging into LabTech, the username is also case sensitive, not just the password. The database will always be called LabTech, and now we're ready to attempt to log in. So long as the user you are trying to log in with has their user profile specified to enable the HTTP tunnel, we can log in with http:// followed by the fully qualified domain name of the LabTech server. That will use port 80, and I will attempt to log in now. And the login was successful. This concludes how to install the LabTech Control Center on a workstation.